Severe weather impacts everyone, but how protected are you when it comes to home insurance when Mother Nature leaves her mark? Joining me now is personal injury lawyer Ninesh Kotek with all the answers to all of my questions. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again.
Well, thanks for coming in because recently you put out a release in 2024 when it came to insured damages of claims. It hit a record $8.5 billion in Canada, which is such a large number. But the thing is, just because you have home insurance doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely covered.
Yeah, we have to look at the policy itself. Everything is sort of governed by that contract. The two biggest areas where we see large claims for home insurance, one is water damage, and the second one, unfortunately, is fires caused by various reasons. So if we look at flood damage or water damage, really there's three types of coverage. One is the basic coverage, and that is, look, if your water pipes burst, if their bathtub overflows, so it's something internal to the home that has led to the flooding. The second one is what's called overland flooding, and that is where rainwater accumulating from the outside is seeping through and coming into the house. And the third one is a sewer backup, which is very unfortunate. So the first one, the basic part of our standard home insurance policies for water damage. The second two, you need to buy them as an optional. Most brokers will offer these and tell you, well, you need this, particularly the overland. And the sewage one is extra money, but you can also buy that as well. I would highly recommend to look at that as part of your policy and get the two endorsements so you're covered for the different types of flood damage that could occur in your home. Yeah. The other one is fire. We could talk about that too.
Yeah, well, we're talking a lot about wildfires and the impact that's had not just across the country, but stateside as well.
Yes,
south of the border.
Absolutely. Look, if you look at the United States, there were situations, for example, where some insurers in certain states, they were not going to insure this particular damage here. We haven't had quite that issue here in Canada because insurance companies set their policy rates to make sure they still have a profit. But if you look at the fire issues, at some point in time, insurers may say, look, the government's going to have to step in here because it's no longer profitable to be insuring for fire. They still do it, but the one tip I would have, let's say you are purchasing a new home in an area that is prone to wildfires. Make sure you have a condition that for the purchase that it's conditional on insurability, because what we do find is while insurance companies will renew your policy, that you have a policy, it's coming up for renewal, they'll renew it even though it's wildfire season. If there's active wildfires, they may not insure a home that you've purchased. They may say, no, we're going to hold off for a bit. And then you're in big trouble because your bank's going to want to have that insurance as well as you. So make sure you have that condition in your purchase agreement on insurability.
That's a detail that I didn't even think about, so I'm so glad that you mentioned that. When it comes to kind of breaking it down, let's say, unfortunately, you are impacted by damage into your home. And then there's the question of when a policy talks about cash value versus replacement value. Can you kind of clarify between the two?
Right, that usually involves, your personal belongings, right? So cash value essentially will look at, okay, what was it initially priced at, but now it's depreciated, it's used. So we're going to pay you what it was worth today. Replacement is, we're going to replace that very item even if it is increased in price. So for things like watches or some jewelry, et cetera, it's good to always look at, hey, I want replacement value because things have increased over time.
Yeah. And in terms of timeline, is there a time limit when it comes to claim submissions? Because whenever damage happens, it's chaos, in your life. You really are trying to make sure that the damage isn't continuing, but at the same time, you do have to take the steps to make sure that you can get some sort of claim process.
Right. So the steps would be this, you notify your insurer. They'll bring an adjuster on board and they'll give you a form which is called a proof of loss form where you list, it's a sworn document, I mean you have to swear it's true. You'll list all your items you lost and the amounts. If you have receipts, you attach it and you sign it. And from that point on, they adjudicate the value of that. Certainly there's some leeway with this, particularly in fire situations. One recommendation, and there's 2 years to sue on a denial, okay? So, one thing I would recommend is, look, I know it's hard to keep all your receipts when you buy stuff. Who does that? But with credit cards, maybe you do have. Yeah. Take pictures of your valuables. Even before any event happens, you've got a wine collection or whatever it might be that you just take pictures of it so you show it as exists. If you have to evacuate your home, you obviously want to secure. You take your medicines, your passport, whatever you're permitted in terms of the bag to do your essentials, just in case you can't go back. But definitely timeliness is important. if there's a claim, get in touch with the insurer as quick as you can, and be very accurate and forthcoming on your proof of loss claim.
Well, amazing tips to kind of give all of us, because as the weather starts to get more unsettled, as you see wildfires, flooding happen year after year, it's just unbelievable the sort of impact it can have. Ninesh Kotak, thank you so much for coming in, for giving us all the details on what we should know. Such a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back.
This portion of Global News is brought to you by Kotak Law, your long-term disability firm.